Yeah. Tom's going to give me the finger. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the 298th consecutive monthly raw vegan, raw plant-based potluck here. And this has been going 298 times without a never missed. Even during COVID, we found places to meet and enjoy good food and good fellowship. So I'm pleased to be able to address this group tonight. And this topic is understanding food packaging labels. And you are all here on a health journey, so I'm sure you've already learned a lot about this. And I'm not a subject expert, but I love to research things. So the reason I'm here talking tonight is because I like to research, and I've had my own food journey that's required a lot of reading of labels and learning about them. So I want to, what's that? Oh, I didn't say my name. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. My name is Mark Wally, and my background is in electrical engineering and MBA, and then I've been on a health journey for over 20 years, been a vegetarian at least 20 years, almost 21 now, and very glad I went that route. Most of my friends don't, even though they've known me a long time, don't have a clue why I decided to go down that journey. They just don't get it. So anyway, but you all do, so thank you. The reason I got interested in food labels was when I was younger, I don't know, starting in 6th or 7th grade and continuing through college and beyond college, I get headaches a lot. And if I went to a doctor or whatever, they go, it's just part of life, you know, just you have headaches, and people, some have more, some have less. So I was just told that just deal with it. But I hated headaches. Then in my late 20s, I don't know how, but I started figuring out that MSG, which was when I was in my late 20s, there was a lot of MSG in all kinds of foods and salad dressings and soups and restaurant food and Chinese food. And I learned that if I stopped eating MSG, I hardly ever got a headache. So that took, 20 years or something to figure that out. But I started being very methodical about looking for MSG. And that made me headache free for weeks at a time, sometimes months at a time. And I couldn't have been happier to not have so many headaches. And then as time progressed, another decade or so, I start getting headaches again sometimes. And I know there's no MSG because I've rooted out every product and restaurant that had MSG in it. But the food companies learned and restaurants learned that MSG was a bad thing, but now we can put some other things in there. So they started putting other ingredients in that were very MSG-like, and I had to kind of start my journey all over again, which was kind of a bummer, but so now it wasn't just one product you had to look for. It became like 5 or 6 or 7 or even sometimes 10 things. So I had to read a lot of food labels. When I eat, even in restaurants, I try to understand the food labels or the ingredients on everything I eat. It's not perfect, but it takes a lot of effort. And I'm glad I done it. I'm not recommending that. Everyone in this group, you have to decide your own journey, how much time and effort you're going to put into it versus just live with it and make some mistakes sometime. There's trade-offs, right? Because we're busy people. I want to ask a question here to start out with. What from a food product company that's making food that's in here, or Trader Joe's or Fry's or Safeway, whatever, what are some of their priorities when they bring a food to market? Cheap, margin, because they're business people, right? Margin, other profit, that's margin, right? Similar. Any other priorities that food companies have besides money? That it tastes good. Yeah, they want repeat business. They want addiction. They want cravings. They want that. What other things might they want? Color, yeah, that's how makes it attractive. Yes, very much so. Other thoughts? There's a big one that hasn't been said yet. Well, they do that too. If they have money to advertise, not everyone has money to advertise big. Oh, yeah, they have subliminal things. Okay, I'm going to just stop it there because nobody's going in the direction I was wanting you to go. There's another big one that's super big to all the companies. They want a long shelf life because it might be, in a warehouse here for a while, then it's in a truck for a while, then maybe it's in another warehouse, and then maybe even a back of the store here, so that could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. So food companies really want products that last a long time, okay? Mostly not so much fresh vegetables and things, but things that are in cans, things that are frozen, things that are in glass jars, that's a big priority. All right, let's talk now, switch subjects a little bit. What are some of the big ingredients that food companies like a lot, that you see a lot of foods in? Okay, that's a word, but how about specific ingredients? What? Okay, I heard salt. I heard sugar. Those are
natural flavoring.
Natural flavoring. Did I hear spices? What else? You said it, Tom. Oil. Those are probably the four big ones that they like. Why do they like salt? Makes it taste good. It makes you taste more, but it also helps preserve things. It's a double duty for them. They get flavor and some preservation. Why do they like sugar? Addictive. And what else? What else does sugar do? It gives a long shelf life. That big shelf life equation for them, they want sugar in there because it gives shelf life for most things. Any scientists here, if you want to dispute my things, you can now or afterwards, if you disagree. Because I'm in a group of some pretty smart people here. All right, what other thing? We said oil. Oil doesn't really do shelf life as much, but it has a major reason for it. The oils they use are all what they call highly processed. Highly processed means high temperature and or high pressure. And they are cheap to make, and they have weight. So they can put them into products, and they cost pennies compared to maybe the real ingredient that your grandmother or great-grandmother used, which was the real thing, which is much more expensive. So oil is a lot of times used to put weight to the product that has no value to us, really. Yeah, it's a filler. All right, speaking of fillers, okay, we just kind of answered that. Fillers are used for what main purpose from food companies? I think we just talked about it. I want to make sure this is real clear. There's really literally hundreds of fillers that food companies use. But the most important reason why they use fillers is to make it cheap. It adds weight, and it adds weight of something super cheap, and then substituting it for more expensive ingredient. The best example I can give this, the most clear, is hummus. What are the two main ingredients in hummus? Garbanzo or chickpeas, and what? Tahini. Okay, I just went to 3 or 4 grocery stores this week just to make sure I was up to date for this talk. How often do you see chickpeas is usually the #1 ingredient? What is usually the #2 or 3 ingredient? So we know that if you make homemade, or if you go to a Middle East country, you're going to get it with garbanzos first, tahini second, right? And that's your main thing, and then the juice from the beans. Okay, now oil is the most common thing, one of the most common for #2 or 3. What else? No, salt's still a little further down. They don't put salt #2 or 3, but it's up there. It's up there. No, another water. So most of the ones I looked at this week, which are some of the most famous brands, very well-known brands, quality brands, they usually have water #2 and oil #3, and tahini comes in at #4 or 5. So those water is a filler. It adds weight, so you can sell that package, 8 ounces or whatever it is, with no value to us, and it's not that. And I've been tracking hummus over the last 2 or 3 years. Hummus prices have been shooting up, but the ingredient quality is going down. So I've decided I'm finally going to start making my own hummus, which I did over New Year's, my first time ever, which had mixed results. Some people loved it, and some were kind of, right? But I'm glad I got to try it because my number one ingredient was chickpeas and number two was tahini. All right, so there's some, yeah, garlic. I didn't chop it up enough. I didn't mince it enough. Okay, so we covered all that. The fillers add weight. I want to tell you something about another quick story about ingredients. The ingredients is in the back of the label. I have some pass outs here, but I'm not going to do it yet. We don't need them right now to distract. I was in Costco recently, and you know how they have those demo stations where they're pushing like a new product or maybe an existing product they want to, get more marketing done for. So you have a little stand and there's a person there pouring you a juice or giving you a cracker, whatever. So this juice thing was another one of these health nutrition drinks. I said, "What do you got there?" And he goes, "We got this drink." And I said, "What's in it?" And he hands me a sheet that has like 10 or 12 things on it. And I said, "Very good. It looks like some quality stuff." I said, "Can I see the label?" He was not, like, his enthusiasm just went way down. And eventually I just grabbed one and said, "I'm just going to read the label myself." He was kind of controlling that. So on the label, it wasn't the same. The ingredients on the sheet were there, but the number 4 ingredient on the label was natural flavors. And that was not disclosed on the sheet. And I told him, I said, if I would have bought this product, I probably would have gotten a super nasty headache. Don't know for sure, but, and he goes, "Well, we do this." So anyway, I reported to one of the store managers. I said, "I've loved Costco and I love what you do here, but I said, I thought one of your vendors was a little bit dishonest." So anyway, you always want to read the labels. And with our time now, we don't have a lot of time here, but literally you have to learn hundreds of things that the food companies put in there. Tom gave me a sheet that's got some of them, but there's so many different things. It's hard. I wouldn't focus on looking at all the things you don't want because there's literally hundreds. Focus on the things you do want and make sure they're high up the list, like they're number 1 or 2 or 3. And then I scan the rest of the list to see if there's something I just won't put in my body. There's some things I don't like putting in my body, and there's other things that I won't put in my body. So just on the natural flavors, most natural flavors are made in natural flavor labs, and they're pretty secretive about how they do things. They're mostly done in Lakeland, Florida. That's where 3 largest companies in the world, I believe, are located. And I think there's a couple in Europe as well. They don't tell you a lot, and they're not required to. And it's a kind of a catch-all term. It may be a good quality or it may be a horrible quality. I know for myself, if natural flavors are higher up the list of ingredients, like there may be number 4 or 5 or 6, I tend to get headaches. Bad like I did when I was a child, like super knockout, horrible headaches. If the natural flavors are like near the bottom of the list, like below the salt, if they're below the salt, it's not strong enough that it usually gives me a headache. So I don't know why. I can't explain scientifically why that is, but below the salt, I'm generally okay. Higher than the salt or around the same as the salt, I could get a nasty headache. So anyway, so that product that there had it as number 4. It was very high up the list. And those other products that they had that they were pushing were further down, the ones that are expensive in quality and the ones you want. I'm like, really, no way I'm going to buy this product. All right, let's see. I'm going to look at some notes here. Tell me some trends in food that are in the last 10 years. What have been 2 big food trends that they put on the front of the package? Like almost every package, like gluten-free is a big one, yes. Organic, that's the big one. So these are good trends. No GMO. Yes, a little bit. Yeah, they can be. These are all good answers. They weren't what I was thinking, but all the answers given have been very good. Organic and BPA free and all these things. The biggest trend that may be declining a little bit was low fat or no fat. That is like the number 1 thing. So many products had that in even beyond organic and stuff. No fat or extremely low fat. That was put on so many products. The newer trend, maybe in the last 5, 6, 7 years that's kind of alongside that and maybe a little bit more of it now is high protein, or protein. They give the 5 grams of protein, 8 grams of protein. They're not necessarily saying high protein, but they're putting the protein per serving right on the front because protein is big. Everyone thinks you need a lot of protein to be healthy. I personally don't have that viewpoint, but I'm sure there's people here who would dispute me. So, but yeah, I've been living for the last 20 years on a diet that's about half the protein required for a person my age and weight. I'm still living, thankfully. But there's protein is really big right now. So we were talking about gluten. Gluten is finding its way in everything these days. There's either gluten-free or high gluten. They don't ever say high gluten, but there's gluten-free, which means none. And then there's the products that have a ton of it in there. Like used to have bread, or I don't hardly buy bread anymore for like the last 2 years. I used to love bread. I know it's not the healthiest thing, but I loved healthy breads, not white bread, but whole grain kind of breads and those things. It's hard to find one anymore that I'll even buy because of these, put these bromates in them and other weird things, and then they have tons of gluten added. And our bodies were not designed to handle all the gluten that's pushed on us now. So I think, if my own opinion is unscientific, hasn't been proven in a laboratory, is that the gluten, that our bodies were designed to handle the gluten that was in wheat and other products back before we modified it all. But starting in the 1930s, we started tinkering with food a lot, and then a lot in World War II and stuff. And so the gluten amount in wheats, especially wheat, is the number one thing. It kept increasing and creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And it's and then, like, starting about 10 years ago, it just shot up even further, like on a rocket. So it kept going up, and then all of a sudden it's like gone way up. So there's only kind of 2 products, a lot of them. There's gluten-free, and then there's like heavy gluten. And heavy gluten will do stuff to your guts and stomach and intestines that's probably not good for you, right? Yeah, it's not good. I mean, you can get away. Your bodies are pretty flexible and self-healing, but like doing constant diet of these for years, high gluten is a recipe for health problems down the road. So that's another product they love now, is high gluten. They don't say that, but they put the protein count on it, and it's either whey protein or gluten. They have about 8 or 9 ways they can get that protein number way high. Pea protein is maybe a better one, but maybe not the best. But gluten is a big one. So that's why you look for it on some products. You'll see a lot of it. All right, let's make something here. This is, I think, needs to be clear, and I think you all know this. I don't subscribe to the position that carbs are bad and protein is good and this and that. I believe the 3 major groups, which are carbs and fats or oils, are good or bad. So carbs are either good or bad. I don't look at all carbs as bad. I look at, you can have good carbs and bad carbs, good fats and bad fats, and even proteins. I believe there's good proteins and bad proteins. That's just how I process things when I'm looking at food labels. I process it that way, and it's served me pretty well. I don't get on a kick where I'm anti-carbs or this or that. I have cut my carbs back some, I think, because helping with food restriction maybe a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about sugars here for a minute, which are part of carbs. Up until around 2021 or 2022, the federal government and the food industry did studies to prove that added sugars were not detrimental to your health. And I went to a talk in 2019 with a naturopath nurse, and she was giving a talk on how bad added sugars were. But she said your government disputes this, and she cited the sources and the studies. She said your government disputes that all this sugar we're putting in. Remember, they're putting in sugar for flavor and addiction and for preservation, right? So there's a lot of sugar in there. But now, starting around 2022, I've started seeing a lot of studies coming out of universities, Harvard and others, Johns Hopkins and many more, that are actually showing that these added sugars are not good for us. So finally, that tidal wave, or that was finally shifting, where I think the government may even publish something, or maybe they have already, saying that there are issues and concerns with all this added sugar. So anyway, I'm glad that I remember that talk super well in 2019 that I went to. It was a brilliant talk. Naturopathic nurse, and she's super into health stuff. She has her own farm, but they do meat stuff, so they don't come to this. But very brilliant woman. All right, let's talk a little bit briefly about FDA kind of words that don't mean anything, but we see them a lot on things. There's words that mean things like organic, which have been weakened. But how about natural or nature? It means nothing. It's just a feel-good word, right? It's a word that, it's a good marketing word. It's not a scientific word. What about sustainable? Feel good. Superfood. You know, we got superfoods on all kinds of supplements these days and juices. It's a superfood. It has no definition. It's just make you feel good about it, right? Keto-friendly, ketogenic. It's not officially, but a lot of times people have an idea what it means, but I don't think it's, huh? Yeah, that's a heavy fat diet. Yeah, and for some people, they swear by it. And there's other things. Natural, we already covered that. Okay. Let's go switch gears to GMOs and the new word. How many people have seen a product with the words bioengineered ingredient? This product contains a bioengineered ingredient. I think they're all the hands are right. You have not. But you don't. Yeah, but that's because you're shopping healthy. You're not looking, but yeah, I was in Safeway last night. I hardly ever go to Safeway, but someone wanted me to pick up something for a movie I was going to. So I went in Safeway, it's the closest store. So I thought, well, I'm in here Safeway and I never come to Safeway. So I'm gonna do my little research for this project. So I looked at some of the hummuses and things, but I went back to the bakery and I saw this like, designer expensive bread, and it looked really nice. It had a good weight to it and it looked like it'd be an awesome bread. It was like $8 or $9 for a small loaf. So I looked at it, it's like, I was kind of tempted, maybe I'll buy this because I still like bread. And I looked at it and I read it all. All the ingredient list was pretty good. There weren't any oils or weird things or chemicals in it I didn't like. The very last thing at the bottom contains bioengineered ingredients. Everything looked good, but it said bio. So I walked up to the bakery manager and I said, "Oh, this bread looks really nice." They said, "It's beautiful looking bread." I said, "Can you tell me what the bioengineered ingredients are in it?" They go, "They never tell us this kind of stuff." They said we wouldn't even know where to start. Like, if you called the corporate number, they probably would give you a runaround. So the lady was very sympathetic that she wouldn't actually buy the bread either, she said, but but that was kind of interesting to hear that. But she said, "No, I can't tell you. I don't even know how to tell you, but it's creeping up in a lot of places, and that means basically that's the word that replaced GMO. So if you're interested in that, organic products aren't supposed to have those in it, and the GMO project is another one that kind of looks out for those things. You probably all know that kind of stuff. But yeah, these bioengineered ingredients, which are GMOs, are creeping up in more and more places. And we all know here, maybe this will change with the new administration, but the FDA and the food industry have a very cozy, comfortable relationship. Kind of like the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA. And even more recently, which to me is very scary, the FAA and Boeing, Boeing had those horrible crashes because they had bad software and they didn't train people properly, and there were crashes and there's still incidents around. But anyway, the FAA approved this new Boeing aircraft and gave it flying colors good, and it took deaths of like 300, 400 people for them to start waking up and start really looking at the stuff. So anyway, these comfortable relationships between government and industry that are supposed to be independent, they're not good. And the food industry is as classic examples that as you can think of. The FDA does not really regulate them. The food industry more through political action groups and stuff, and influencers, they more regulate the FDA. So we all know that, right? So that you have to do, if you really want to be smart about your food, you have to be your own advocate and learn some of this stuff. And I'm sure most of you have. Here's just some fun stuff that's kind of bothered me through the last few years. I have friends who love ice cream. I like Tom's ice cream. He makes like his own that's fantastic. But did you know if like someone says to you, pick up some ice cream, I'm throwing a birthday party, you know what you're going to get in there is? It's like one of the weirdest things is propylene glycol is in almost every ice cream that's inexpensive. That is one of the ingredients, and it's not the last one. It's kind of more bottomish, but not at the near the bottom. Is that like radiator fluid is what we're talking about? Yeah, and even supplements. I actually have one. I have a bag here. I'm going off screen for a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, I brought some things here, show and tell. But this is a product I picked up by not reading the ingredients. This is lysine, and if you've had shingles, they say you should take some of this. And I watched some YouTube videos by some naturopaths. So back when I had the shingles, I was just kind of tired. I wanted to get over with, and I was at Costco, and I saw this Winco right next door to them. I said, lysine, I'll just buy it. What can be wrong with it? Well, the first ingredient of the supplement is lysine, which it says. The first ingredient of either the other ingredients is cellulose. That's basically wood pulp. It's fiber. It doesn't help your body at all. It just adds some bulk to it. But there's fiber in this, which that doesn't bother me a lot. It's not good, but it doesn't bother me. But in here is polyethylene glycol and a bunch of other alcohols and weird stearates and stuff. Why do you have to put this in a supplement? I mean, it's just, I won't take it now, but I read the label. Yeah, it's a capsule. No, you wouldn't taste it. These are nice capsules. Yeah, so all this diligence, you need to do it for your supplements too. I have other examples in here of some supplements with weird stuff in them too, but we won't have time tonight. But yeah, when you're looking at supplements, you have to read the other ingredients list too, there are so many things. And even I have two different, I'm not going to go into this deep here at all, but I have two D3s here, which aren't probably the best D3s. This one's Winco, this one's Trader Joe's. They both have some items of concern in them. This one's probably better than this one, but you could do better than this. So probably, yeah, they would be better. But you should read it. I can't say without actually reading it. But you know, people think supplements. I need D3. You know, blah blah blah. You got to read these drops. Well, I want to know what's in those drops. I want to know everything now. But yeah, even these kind of healthy things which help us, our bodies a lot, sometimes they have things that we may not want in our bodies, or that we prefer not, but maybe we'll trade it off because we're busy or whatever. All right, so that's, I have other stuff, but that's enough of that for now. Let me put this back here. All right, let's see if we can bring this to a landing here pretty quick. Not like maybe 5 or so minutes. Okay, we talked about natural flavors. How about carrageenan? Anybody familiar with that? It comes from seaweed, derived. So does people think here that carrageenan is a good thing or a bad thing, or don't know? Not a good thing. Anybody want to offer a different opinion or agree with that, or you don't know? Okay, it's in a lot of, the reason why I'm bringing it up for here, so I should have said this in my introduction. This talk, there's so many ways it could go, so many directions. This could be a multi-hour talk, which it's not going to be. It could even be a conference multiple days. I mean, this topic just goes on and on and on and on. So we're just kind of, you know, crossing the top of the water here, right? Just a little bit. But carrageenan, I started finding it because I started doing a lot of soy milks at first, and then cashew milks, and you know, these plant-based milks, right? And at first I thought it was a good ingredient because the better brands, like the soy milks or the, let's say, coconut milks or almond milks that were maybe $3 a half gallon sometimes didn't have it in it, but the ones that were $5 or $6 a half gallon oftentimes had it. So I thought that must be a good thing. Yeah, one of the premier brands I think still uses it. It's like $5, $6 half gallon. Anyway, I started buying the little more expensive ones because I thought that's better. But I started getting headaches again. There you go. Krista's our make it yourself. That's good. We aspire to do that, but not all of us are there yet. But Krista is right, so you don't have to get all these food products. But yeah, if we can do what Krista does, that's the best thing. But anyway, there's all these plant-based milks out there nowadays, and some of them are bad and some of them are good or better, let's say. I won't say good. And this carrageenan, which is from seaweed, I thought, I like seaweed. I mean, that's something that's going to be healthy for me, micronutrients and, hard to find little trace elements and stuff. But this carrageenan started giving me these massive headaches again. So now, even if I get a nut milk and stuff, I have to read all the labels very carefully because there's carrageenan in them and other things I don't want in my body. And if I get carrageenan, I'm going to get a headache typically. There he is, the man himself. Welcome, Austin. We're just wrapping up the talk here on food ingredients and food packaging. All right, let's put another thing out there that not everybody knows that's probably interesting. Real briefly, this is another complex, long subject, country of origin stuff. The only thing we're going to touch on tonight is garlic. Who here uses or buys garlic from a grocery store? You do, even? Or the farmer's market, okay. Yeah, there you go. Stephanie said it. I would say, my understanding is that 90% or maybe even 95% of the garlic sold in grocery stores in the United States and some farmers markets, sometimes they're just middlemen, right, is from China. And there's YouTube videos you can watch which tell you why theirs is not as good as like getting it from a local source, like from Montana or even from Arizona or something like that. What's that? Michigan, yeah. Those are all good places for it. But anyway, most of your grocery store garlic comes from China. So just beware of that. And you have to ask, or sometimes they don't carry it, but sometimes like at Trader Joe's, they have the China stuff, which is produced, which is well put out and it's a good price. And they have a little more secret bins with the US made garlic. I'm not fully up on it, but the people who have watched those YouTube videos and gone on a deeper dive, they've all switched and they're like, so I haven't watched all the videos yet myself, but the people I trust who have watched them, they will not buy from China anymore at all for garlic. Oh no, the cloves. Yeah, no, the cloves are from China. Yeah, not frozen, minced, not jarred, just, yeah, the garlic, most of it comes from China. And another one, a big one for me, this is a side note, but I love pumpkin seeds. I mean, I love pumpkin seeds. It's in my top 5 favorite foods. And most of it comes from China. And I really don't even know what to do. Even at stores like this, it's coming from China. So they're marketed as pumpkin seeds like Nancy, but I sure would like to find a source for pumpkin seeds out of the U.S. Anybody? There you go. There's a good solution. All right. Did everybody know that already about the pumpkin seeds and the garlic? There's probably other products like that that I don't know about, but those are 2 that I have not done that yet. Okay, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this before we go that way too much. I grind up pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds into the base of my homemade cereal. So I'm using a lot of pumpkin seeds. Like a lot, I mean maybe that much per day. Okay, that's going to be a lot of work to do. Yeah, let's call that a between a quarter and a half a cup per day. Let's go a third. A third. You have it sold to the woman in the red. Let's say a third of a cup a day. That's probably a bunch of work. Yeah, that's a lot of work. And I don't have that time and energy right now for that. But good idea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that certification process either. Yeah, that's something to research. I don't know about it. I don't know if there's U.S. people go over there and certify for them to import it. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. All right, let's talk about a couple other things here. Sure people know this here, but 50 years in environmental working group, Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. That's the foods that have heavy pesticides and ones that have low pesticides. Dirty Dozen are the 12 worst pesticide foods around. Sometimes like strawberries is usually number 1 or 2. Kale, yeah, kale and spinach are always in the top 3 or 4. Blueberries. So those are products you want to get organic if you're concerned about it. I don't want pesticides in my body. But there's other, the Clean 15 are products that they only find trace or 0 amounts of pesticides. That kind of influences me for how I buy produce. For the Dirty Dozen, I definitely buy organic. The Clean 15, I don't, unless it's the same price for both. And then the other ones, I kind of just do case by case. I don't know. I'm not sure. They update that list annually. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. Good list. I've been using that as my guidance for 15 years now, or maybe longer, and I think it serves well. Okay, then who's here heard of Dr. Joel Fuhrman? All right, we got some fans here. David, had you heard of him? Okay, he's pretty famous in the healthy plant-based food doctor. He's a medical doctor. All right. He came up with a nutrition score called ANDI, A-N-D-I, Mr. Bonus. He looks at micronutrients and a lot of things, not just vitamin A and potassium, but he looks at a lot of different things. And it's based on the food quality density per calorie. So back about 10 years ago when I first heard of it, there were actually grocery stores, a few of them, not many, that were actually publishing ANDI scores and putting them on their shelves for some products, not all products. For some of the healthier products, they would put an ANDI score right on the shelf, right by the product. And I was so impressed. I go, man, this trend is going to take off, and it's going to be a great thing. It's going to help us all get healthier, having these ANDI scores there right when you buy it. And then for about 2 or 3 years, I was seeing it grow a little. And then all of a sudden, I never saw it again. It's like, has anybody seen an ANDI score in the grocery store in the last 5 years, 10 years? I've never seen it. Anyway, I saw it maybe, in 10 different stores. And I was traveling heavily then. I was looking at grocery stores as part of my research at that time. Yeah, I was really impressed. And all of a sudden, it just went away. So Dr. Joel Fuhrman did all that great work. And you can get them yourself. You can go online and stuff. It takes more work. It's nice to have it right there yourself, right? These are grocery stores that are publishing them for some product. That's a sad note that looked like it was going somewhere, and then it just kind of died. Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about this real quickly. Most of these big food stores, big chains, Kroger's the biggest grocer in the United States, and Safeway, Albertsons, maybe tied with Walmart. Those are all big. They all have their own brands, right? And Kroger has Simple Truth, right? Simple Truth. And it has such a nice thing, and it has no artificial this and no that. And it's marketing to me, because you just think this has got to be good. So I've done my own little private study over the years, little by little, of looking at their product. carefully. I can't think of any natural, simple fruit that I would buy over a different thing. I think it's so much, so many fillers in there. Not necessarily putting bad stuff in. They took a lot of bad stuff out. They won't put, but they've gotten very good at putting lots of fillers. Kind of neutral fillers aren't bad for your health, but add weight. And they're geniuses at putting the label on the front and this, and they all are. I'm not just picking on that one company, but these natural, these brand label products that look so healthy and a little better price point, maybe better give it a second look. I think in many cases. So. A website that's not new, but it's fairly somewhat new to me for learning more about this and like holding the industry more accountable. And there's a lot of good sites, but one of the biggest sites called Food Babe. Did anybody ever? Yeah, she is a go-getter, like pressing companies and grocery stores to reveal stuff, and she asks questions and sends letters to them, and even lawyer letters sometimes, I believe, and she goes deep, and I'm fairly new to her, but I've been impressed with what I've learned from her website. It's foodbabe.com, and that's exactly foodbabe.com is what we do. I'll spell it. Food and babe, B-A-B-E. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on her site. I don't know what nutrition pathway she's on, but she does a lot of bird dogging and getting in there, and I've learned a lot from her. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did not know that. So it's being said that her maybe number one focus is on getting the foods for children, especially cereals, to have solid ingredients. But the things I read of hers went way beyond cereals and things. It was very informative. And so I'm going to conclude this talk. We'd like for this to go on and on. There's a lot of things. We'll take a few questions from the floor, and I'll repeat the questions for that if you want to keep that on, Tom, or if you want it off. Okay, so any questions, thoughts, comments that you want others to hear or share about? Chuck, Chuck first, actually. Sorry about that. That's with the three. Okay, I'm going to repeat that for everyone. So this is produce, right? It starts with a 3 on the label. It's radiated or iodized or some kind of radiation, right? Electronically pasteurized. Interesting. Okay, 4 is conventionally grown, sprayed with pesticides. 8 means genetically modified. 9 is organic, not minimized synthetic materials. All right. Thank you, Chuck, for sharing that. I'm going to go over to Austin, then I'll jump back here to Jennifer. All right, so it's just the first number in this group, right? Okay. Jennifer, do you have a thought or comment? I pretty much avoid those color guide things. I don't. They're not Boyd, but they're pretty close to. But they're in there. So my food shopping has actually gotten easier through the years, even though the world's gotten more complicated. I look before I read anything. I look to see how long the ingredient list is. Okay. I have another exhibit here, or do I? Here's one. This is a product I started buying about 2 years ago. This is it's a frozen thing, passion fruit, snack size pieces. Okay, and you can buy this at Whole Foods or Sprouts or Walmart, which is where I get it. The back under ingredients says seedless passion fruit puree. One ingredient. It's frozen. Yeah, I've made it in several things I brought here before. You know, there's a little bit of a flavor enhancer. One ingredient. So my biggest thing now, before I read the long list, is if it's a long list, and a lot of times I just give it a pass. Before I would read them all and try to figure them out. Now it's like, I want lists like this. One of my favorite new products is Costco's coconut water. The ingredient list is coconut water. Huh? Okay, well, you do that. But those are the kind of products I want to buy. So I'm buying other things, and now I'm switching to things that have shorter ingredient lists, like this passion fruit and things like. They also have dragon fruit and other flavors. Very good. But I'm trying to go for shorter and shorter lists, and I want the stuff to be quality. So that's made my life so much easier to just focus it that way rather than reading a long list. And even a lot of these plant-based products, this is another important one. A lot of plant-based products that look super healthy on the packaging. You turn it around and you read, you don't even know what you're reading. There's so many chemicals and weird things and maybe even new words you gotta look up. And almost always I give those a pass. The plant-based, self products, especially in like hardware kind of things, just don't like it. Oh, okay. That's a rabbit hole that we don't have time to go down. But this is the only store that's in the United States, this Natural Grocers, that has made a statement official that they will not allow products in the habit. All the other grocery stores either admit they do, or they kind of like play hard to figure out. Right? No, I don't. I'm going to let you do it if you want, because you know more about it. I just know that. Hey, Austin, come up here. Come on up. Austin's going to be our quick explainer of the peel.
So what is a peel or a peel is just a new food coating product for the packaged food industry, for fresh produce. Yeah, for the fresh produce industry. So it's like a new version of a compound wax instead of just like a natural food wax that's commonly used on apples and oranges, cucumbers, and avocados, and the list goes on. It's like a new chemical product that's wax-like but has a lot of other ingredients in it and might be very dirty or have heavy metals in it that we don't want on our produce, and it can't be washed off like regular food wax. And it is approved for organic use. Yes. A significantly longer shelf life. Oh, yeah.
YUKAS. Okay. Yucca. And that triggered another thought on something I do, which is a bit on the nerdy side. Number one, I look for those shorter ingredient lists, which is already covered. Another thing I do for products that I'm considering a little bit, I get my camera out, my phone, and I take a picture of the ingredient, and then I'll make a chew on it to mentally chew on it. Not taking back, but mentally chew on it to see whether. And most of the time, just by taking that picture and not buying the product, even though I'm tempted to buy it, I decide not to buy it. Almost always. So just taking a picture kind of gets that, oh, I want something new and exciting in my life. I get it. And then I'm like, I get home or the next day or the next week, I'm like, I really don't want that. And it really saves me from buying stuff that I like new and different food. I like new things. So anyway, that helps me a lot. I think this will be the end, and we appreciate all the audience participation. And all right, thank you. Important topic, and thank you. And I think most of the people in this room